Whether it's bad planning, bad luck, bad timing, or bad inventions, well-intentioned bad decisions have plagued history for thousands of years. Welcome to Historic Hindsight. Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're going to talk to you about cowboys.
In Texas, in Waco,
Waco?
Texas.
Waco,
Yeah,
Texas?
Cowboys, Waco,
Cowboys?
Texas. Pew, 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 yeah.
All right.
Yeah. They're not.
No.
I think it was more the Cowboys that came in to quash these innocent religious souls, Johnny. They were just trying to spread their love and their gospel in their own little way and set up their own little kingdom outside of, the United States where they could be free to do what they want.
Oh, this is a cult thing.
We don't use those words.
Okay, this is something that might be considered that. Aside from it being basically a trump card in Apples to Apples, circa 2005 and 6, I don't know much about Waco.
You don't know anything about. Well, buckle up. You're gonna get a little angry at this episode. It is not a nice, lighthearted episode.
It's not a lighthearted cult that ended in fun shenanigans.
No, and I've been wanting to do this one for a while, and I've kind of wanted to do like a shit our government did to us kind of thing, but I kind of held off because I thought, well, last year was a bit rough for everybody at home, so maybe not do awful, horrible things all the time. Then now it's like, we're a year into it. I got to get this episode out. I want to do this episode. So.
I mean, by this time, everybody's numb to the pain and horrible things that have been going on, and yeah, they're ready for it. They'll be fine.
Yeah, they're ready for it.
I don't know if I am.
Well, this is also known as the Waco Siege or the Waco Massacre. So, spoiler alert.
Oh God!
It doesn't go well for one party. It was a time when the ATF went out to serve a warrant for illegal firearms and child molestation in 1993, and wound up engaging in a nearly 2-month. Oh yeah, did I glaze over the whole child?
1993. No, 1993.
Yeah, this is recent. Yeah,
I thought
we
were like
10 years ago.
Nope. You're old. I thought we were traveling way back to like legit cowboy days, but no.
This is 1993.
1993. Okay.
So they go to serve this warrant, and they wind up getting themselves in a 2-month-long siege with them that winds up burning children. So yay, government!
The ATF went and they had warrants for presumably alcohol, tobacco, or firearms.
Yes, since they were the ATF,
yeah.
You'd be good on that. You'd be good on that, but you'll find something that isn't alcohol, tobacco, or firearm related that they get a warrant for that is a little odd. But yep.
Okay. But and then they see like the people hole up. What do you mean? It turned into a siege? Mm-hmm. Like they barricaded?
Well,
what kind of fortress are they?
Yes. Let me paint the whole picture for you here. We're gonna run through it, because if we don't start running through it, this is gonna be a 5-hour long episode. So we have to start with the Branch Davidians is the cult that we're gonna be talking about. Although just at this particular time, anyways. They are a sect of Seventh-day Adventists that believed in the literal interpretation of the Bible, specifically in regards to the end days, when evil would be punished and righteous would be rewarded. So this is all actually essentially Kellogg cereal's fault. And if you don't understand that reference, go watch our Kellogg episode, and it'll explain all of that. They would have many different breakoffs of the Branch Davidians throughout the years. Group leaders would gain in popularity and get moved out, all that fun stuff. As a group gained popularity, they moved their church to the hilltop several miles east of Waco, Texas, and they named it Mount Carmel. This is now their new their city on a hill, the whole religious Christian thing that they do.
That'll be good for when the next flood comes to wipe everybody out.
But things, when you get a group of religious people together and you have a charismatic leader, and then you have somebody else who comes along and says, I don't really like that charismatic leader, you tend to have a civil war that develops in your church.
A division. I mean, it's a church. It's not going to be a civil war.
No, there was definitely a civil war in this church in the 80s that split the church into two.
Oh.
With some fun infighting. And this is just, this is what happens at your daily Presbyterian church, right? This is normal. Out of this civil war, Vernon Howell would lead his group from Palestine, Texas. So you had a split. You had Vernon Howell move his group to Palestine, Texas. He's going to decide that Palestine's right. I said the same thing. But he's going to say that, you know what, Palestine's not nearly as awesome as Mount Carmel. So he will legitimately lead a raid against the Mount Carmel branch. And I'm glossing over a ton of stuff because I have to. But long story short, Vernon Howell, Cliff Notes. Vernon Howell takes over Mount Carmel, tells everybody that he is a Messiah sent from God, and begins collecting the members' wives for himself. And this is where I feel 100% comfortable saying that this is a cult. If your church has a leader that demands that you give your wife to him, and he has all the women as his own wife, and he's the only one who's allowed to sleep with those women, you're probably in a cult.
No, I'm in an arrangement kind of like that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Okay. It's fine.
Does Ashley know?
Okay, so real quick, the Mount Carmel, this church that was built there, it's not just like a church down the road that people go to. This is people are living at it.
Yes,
this is a compound. This is a
compound. This is a community. This is a compound. This is a very large building that has a barracks. It has a church that's in there. It has a food storage shelter. It's got bomb shelters. It's got an armory. It's got it's a multi-story compound that's self-sufficient. It does have water storage tanks on the roof. It has a plentiful stockpile of military rations. So they're really going gung-ho about this whole thing.
Yeah, so I mean, okay. And so that's how it can be taken over. That makes more sense. I thought I just pictured them walking into a church building and being like, this is ours now. But this was property takeover.
This is property takeover. It's a very large compound. And it actually does. The Branch Davidians gain popularity, and they actually have dozens of British nationalists that move over to Waco, Texas, and set up there. So it's not just some off-the-wall crazy shoot that's just to Waco, Texas. It actually has members from all over the world. So,
All right. I mean, as most religions will, people will latch on to the people who end up in cults and have that kind of mentality will tend to latch on to things. So
yep.
It'll spread.
In Texas law, at least at the time, age of consent was not 18 or even 16. With parental consent, hell, you can get it down to all the way to 14. So.
Oh, come on. In 93?
That was
the late 80s?
That was observed really well with this particular group, although polygamy is not legal in Texas.
But as long as they're just having relations and not,
Oh no, he marries pretty much marries every woman that's in this compound. Pretty much makes it so that
in the eyes of God, because he didn't get married with the state, right?
Well, yeah, no, it's the eyes of God. Now, the trouble's going to begin because in America, we love our guns and we love our women, but if you have multiple wives or the rumor of diddling children, we don't have that here in America. We don't. We don't
Texas
stand for
in particular.
Texas in particular, unless you happen to be really wealthy, and then we ignore it and look the other way. But random neighbor that's a cultist, child diddling? No, we're going to look into it. So it doesn't take long before the nosy neighbors and judgmental Karens of the world start looking at the place going, it's a little odd.
Well, okay, so but in this instance, thank you for reporting the bad things that you saw in this instance in particular.
But bear with me. So the rumors of the Branch Davidians start to spread around Texas, and people begin rightfully questioning some of the actions that's happening at the camp, and reports come into local child protective services of abuse, both physical and sexual, at the camp. Those claims are investigated and unsubstantiated. Ooh. And I will tell you, with my history of working in child protective services, it's not like that doesn't surprise me, because especially physical abuse, you have to have somebody, you have to have a kid, you have to see it. You have to see the physical abuse, the bruises. And in most states, corporal punishment's legal, you can spank them. There's just that line of you probably don't leave marks and bruises. So if they're not leaving substantial marks and bruises, the kids aren't saying they're scared of their parent, and especially with sexual abuse, if the kids aren't acknowledging it or aren't talking about it, then there's not a whole lot that Child Protective Services could do. So they did investigate it, but their hands are kind of tied because
burden
they're
of
not
proof
really
is
being
hard to
cooperative.
find.
The burden of proof is hard, and they're not cooperating all that well, but just enough to like, there's no problems here.
Yeah.
And of course,
or at least nothing we can do about anything going on here.
There's also isolation, so the kids themselves don't know like this isn't normal.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the other. Yeah, the kids are brainwashed.
They're taught. Yeah.
Is everything okay? Well, yeah, everything's
the
only thing I've ever known. So what? Why would that not be okay?
Yes. Now, before I move on, I have to give everybody out there, especially the foreigners, that we have some law notes that you need to understand before this whole thing kicks off. So in America, you can legally own a machine gun if you have the proper paperwork, pay the proper taxes, go through the proper background checks. Although it's a really hard thing to do because you can't actually own, like, any machine gun made post 1986, I think, or something like that is.
So you could get a very
manufacture
early...
it for commercial sales after that. So you have to get an early machine gun. It had to have been registered prior to that date and all this other kind of stuff. But you can do it. So machine guns are legal to own. Also, our grenades, they're also legal to own, assuming you have the proper background checks and
how do you go about getting
your tax
stamps for that?
Just those
to
are called
website?
Those are destructive devices, and you have to fill out a specific ATF form and mail it in and wait like usually 6 months to a year before they approve you. And then you have to do that for every device that you have. So if you want 3 grenades,
you have to tell them why you want live grenades to explode?
Well, no. You don't have to tell them why you want live grenades. That's not a part of the question, Johnny.
It should be.
That's not a part of the question. No.
What are you gonna do with these? I'll blow up pumpkins.
Blow up pumpkins, yep. So these are things that it takes a lot, but you can actually do it. You can also get guns mailed to you through the mail with the right licenses. I have a what's called a curio and relic license. So if the gun's manufactured pretty much prior to the last 50 years, I'm able to buy that gun from wherever and get it mailed to me directly to my door because I've gone through all the proper federal background check paperwork. If you are an FFL dealer that can buy and sell guns, you can get those guns mailed right to you. And of course, if the gun in the United States is older than 1899, it's not considered a firearm at all. It's an antique, and you can get it mailed directly to your door.
So I'm gonna guess that all of these little caveats, like the licenses and everything, all cost some amount of money. That they're really after.
Yes.
And not
yeah,
really...
it's taxes. It's all about taxes, yeah. It's also super important to note that the Branch Davidians supplemented their income by running a legal FFL licensed gun shop and would go to gun shows and sell their stuff. And they even had their women make little paramilitary vests that you see all the guys on the TV wearing that are proud military boys but never actually served a day in their life. Yeah, they make those vests for those guys to buy. And they would go to gun stores and do that, which is all 100% perfectly legal.
Sure.
Now, I clarified all of this because in May 1992, Chief Deputy Daniel Weinberg of the McLennan County Sheriff's Department, which is Waco, notified the ATF that a local UPS driver, he notified him that a package had broken open destined for the Davidians that contained firearms, black powder, and inert grenades, all of which 100% legal
broken open
to that group. Yeah, broken. Yeah, exactly. Broken open. Like, did it really break open? Or did you crack that shit open yourself and look at it because you were suspicious? But again, all of that stuff, by what we know of the Davidians and what licenses they had,
it's inventory.
It's legal. It's legal.
And the inert grenades.
Shop. I also have to note that the inert grenades, if the grenade's not live, there's no explosive in it. It's a paperweight. You can mail it, ship it,
decoration.
buy it. There's nothing. There's no legality on that whatsoever.
It's just a hunk of metal.
It looks suspicious, but you can buy a crate of them. No. On June 9th, the ATF would open up an investigation, although a quick check of their own records would have indicated that the Davidians held a proper FFL license, and the whole thing could have been handled by a check of their FFL license. They could have just called the dealer and said, hey, look, we want to check your records. Can we do that real quick? And if you're an FFL dealer, like you have to, I have to keep records of everything I buy and sell, which I can't sell on my license, but everything I buy, I have to keep records of. And if the ATF comes knocking on my door and says, I want to see your records, your acquisitions, disposition records, I have to show it to them.
Do you think they knew that they had a license and just wanted to actually get on property? And they're like, we know we can do this, but we're not going to. We're going to pretend that we have
They
to do
should
this
have
other
known
investigation.
because it's the ATF and all the licenses are handled through the ATF, so you would assume there's a
So
database.
it's safe to assume that people knew. They were curious. They wanted to check out the people's camp and like MTV Crib style. Wasn't that getting popular around 93 or 4?
I think you might not be off too far from that. So on July 30th, the ATF actually would wind up sending Agent David Aguilera to visit the Davidian gun dealer by the name of Henry McMahon.
Is that Christina's brother?
Right? It could be the McMahon's what is it, the WWE guy?
Vince McMahon?
Yeah, it could be his son. Who knows? Anyways, that dealer offered the ATF on the spot. Said, "Hey, look, I can get David Koresh on the phone right now." He says, "Come on out to the compound.
Okay.
Look at the records. Look at the guns. Let's go." And David Aguilera said, "No, we're not going to do that."
But that's what this is about, right? This, you'd want to see that. Shouldn't you want to see that?
That's too easy. We got to go gung ho, Johnny. These Davidians are molesting children.
Okay, well,
and
that's
that guy
fair.
has like 50 wives, but that's not purview of the ATF. But that's part of why they're gung ho about this, is they're hearing these rumors. So they're like, well, we can't have that. So we got to go do something about it. Then call the FBI, call your local sheriff department. That's not your job. Don't do that. Sheriff Howell told the ATF on several occasions, who's another sheriff in the area, that says, guys, just talk with David Koresh, who's now the leader. By the way, I totally skipped over that, and I apologize. Vernon Howell would change his name to David Koresh once he took over the compound, and that's when he's like, "I'm God, I'm a Messiah." Why? I don't know.
I'm sorry. What's his name that he changed it to?
It was Vernon Howell to David Koresh.
David Koresh is the name that he chose to be the holiest name, presumably, since he is now God.
He's a Messiah. Yes, yeah. Dave Koresh. Dave. So
Dave crashing it.
So the local Sheriff Howell, had like a relationship with this compound, had a relationship with David Koresh, and said, just talk to the guy. He's reasonable. Like, it's all you got to just go. I mean, he'll weird you out a little bit because he'll try to convert you, but just go talk to him. ATF
a mostly harmless weirdo.
ATF instead, well,
it's what they were like. That was the image they were trying to portray.
So as this goes on, I'm going to really harp a lot on the federal authorities, but I'm not saying that there was nothing wrong going on at the Davidians. I'm just painting a picture of what should have probably happened versus what actually did happen, and some of the legal questions as how things started.
Is a lot of this the ends justify the means type situation where
you don't want these ends, what happens do not justify the means. No. Okay. This was but maybe that was their thinking. I don't know. The ATF instead think that they want to investigate some more, even though they've had a free offer into the compound to go, look, no, we're going to investigate, and we're going to
that's what I was saying.
We're going to investigate this by setting up a surveillance team that was right across the street from the compound. They sent 30-year-old agents who claimed that they were college students, but none were enrolled in any of the local schools. They didn't keep hours that would be what college students kept. So right off the bat, the Davidians go, hey,
nope,
it's the ATF, guys. Those are feds. Clearly feds.
You want to know what happened?
You can smell a fed from a mile away. What's that?
This is like kind of the very beginning of that sort of technology boom that we ended up having. I think they got some new toys in radar and monitoring, listening type devices. I think they got some new toys, and they're like, guys, we can't go in and look at everything, because then how are we going to justify these expenses? We have to use these, and then we can monitor them from far away, and we'll just pose as a bunch of college kids, a la any 90s rom-com, where some old person goes and poses as a high school kid, and they'll be good to go.
Yeah, Johnny, I guarantee you that's what happened. They got gung ho and they wanted to use some of the new equipment. They wanted to justify some of their spending, because what winds up coming out of all of this, oh my God, well, bear with me, buckle up.
All right, I'll hear about it later. That's all right.
So they set everything up. They're doing their surveillance. They're already like we know this is a joke. It is now when they become overtly concerned with the women and multiple wives that they are seeing from across the compound. Going, not in the ATF jurisdiction, not in Waco.
Oh, and not in Texas. Are you
not
kidding me?
In Texas.
Oh, that's like, I mean, I know it's not actually the heart of the Bible Belt, but that's like the biggest organ in the Bible Belt. It's the skin of the Bible Belt, if you will.
That's the whole central nervous system of the Bible Belt.
Okay, that's probably better than the skin.
In order to gain access, the ATF claims that the compound is illegally modifying AR-15s with M16 trigger packs to make them fully automatic.
Oh.
They point out
that's an illegal thing. That's actually illegal.
That is illegal. Yeah, you cannot take a semi-automatic gun and convert it to fully automatic. That is well.
Were bumper stocks a thing there then?
No, not then. No.
Okay, that's a newer thing. And that's basically what that does, but that gets around it because it's not converting it, it's just making you do it automatically.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Okay. And you can get a manufacturing license to manufacture machine guns. They didn't have one. So to take a semi-automatic gun and convert it to fully automatic, what they have is 100% illegal.
All right. So if they were doing that, they're breaking the law.
They have no knowledge that this is happening other than the fact that they see that they've made multiple parts kit purchases. So you can go out and buy what's called a parts kit, which is every bit of the gun minus the receiver. And you can get it shipped in your house.
Yeah.
So, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not illegal. And a lot of people will take a parts kit, let's say from an M16, and make a semi-automatic rifle out of it because they want like a Vietnam era M16. Like, I thought about doing this. I haven't yet, but I thought about doing it. Perfectly legal. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm sorry. I'm going to dumb us down, and you may want to cut this out. What exactly do they send you, and what's the part they don't send you?
They send you everything.
What's
the receiver, the receiver is what's in the United States. It's the serialized component of the gun that is what's called the legal firearm. So on an AR-15, that is the lower block of metal that sits underneath the upper receiver. So where the trigger group is, that's the firearm in the United States for an AR-15.
Okay, so basically the mechanism that allows the bullets to pass up through into a chamber and then activate that and make it go. Boom.
Yeah.
Yes. For me.
Yes. And so, but they send you everything else, including all the internal components to that lower receiver. So when you buy an M16 parts kit, you are getting the components that are the full automatic trigger pack. Now, with that said, you cannot just take the trigger components from an M16 and put them into an AR-15. They will not fit. They will not work. You have to modify the receiver of the AR-15 for all that to happen, which is illegal. You can't do that.
Okay, and that's part of why that's the guts of it, is because it's set up specifically for a specific thing, and it's to adapt. You have to modify it, and so that's kind of why that's set up as the actual gun.
Yes. Well.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, for dumb people.
Yes, for
Guns
dumb
for
people.
dummies.
Yes, in general, yes, but there are a lot of guns that the serialized component, that's the receiver, is not.
Yeah.
Like, not the good. Anyways,
we'll cover those. Later.
That's a later date. Now, so they say that they're illegally modifying these guns because they're buying parts kits and they have AR-15s on the compound. So by default, they must be making illegal guns, which is
okay. So it's conjecture, though. They're making some assumptions about what they're doing.
They're making some good assumptions. But they are able to get a warrant based on what's called a very controversial regulation in the ATF called constructive possession. Now, what this is designed to do is it's designed to make it so you can't have all the parts for a machine gun and just like you can't have an illegal machine gun and then disassemble it and say, well, it's not an assembled gun, so it's not a machine gun. That's what it's designed to do.
Okay.
The problem with constructive possession is it's very, very vague. for instance, in the United States, you can't have a shotgun with a barrel that's shorter than X. It's I think it's 18 inches. Can't have a shotgun barrel that's shorter than 18 inches. Otherwise, you have to have a special permit. So theoretically speaking, if the ATF wanted to be a bunch of assholes, if you own a shotgun and you own a hacksaw, the ATF could say you're in constructive possession of a short-barreled shotgun because you have a hacksaw with the intention of cutting the barrel off.
Because you would be able to create it. So they're basically saying if you have the machinery to do a thing, it's assumed that you're doing the thing that is illegal.
Yeah,
if you have the capability.
Yeah, it's a very, very controversial law, and it's usually more enforced with.
I have the capability to burn down my house, but just that doesn't mean I'm gonna.
It's more enforced with I have a pistol and I want to put a rifle stock on it. That's illegal without the proper permits. So if you own a pistol with a stock that could fit that pistol, that's what it's designed to enforce. So
why might one want to do that?
Oh, because you can shoot a rifle a hell of a lot easier than shoot a pistol, and it's a short barrel rifle. Basically,
so it's a stabilizer and for aiming ability.
It turns it into a short barrel rifle, and a lot of people like short barrel rifles. I have full intention on one of my guns to put the MP40 that you saw in a few videos earlier. It is a pistol. It does not have the foldable collapsing stock on it. I want to get the foldable collapsing stock on it, but before I do that, I've got to go through all the paperwork and register it as a short-barreled rifle, and then I can buy the stock, and then I can install the stock on the gun.
Okay, we'll do something on that.
We're off. Just know.
Let's get to Waco. We'll get off of the guns. Okay.
What they're doing right now isn't technically illegal, but they've got a warrant because they think that they're constructively in possession of parts that could make a machine gun. So,
because they have the ability to do something illegal, they want to check it out.
Yeah. With all that said, the warrant is officially obtained on February 25th, 1993. The affidavit of the warrant mentions an official statement by the UPS driver that mentions black powder, aluminum powder, cardboard tubes, inert grenades, and 50 AR-15 magazines. Funny enough, no guns were actually mentioned in his official affidavit.
That's for a gun seller, that's inventory, right?
Yeah, and the only thing that's a little is the aluminum powder and cardboard tubes. But again, none of that stuff's illegal on its own. You can get black powder shipped to you. You can get all that stuff shipped to you. None of that's actually everything that's on that list.
Got a deal.
Everything that's on that list is 100%. You can ship to your house with no questions. Well, you can ship to your house with no law violations. You might be.
Apparently, there are going to be some questions asked if you get those things shipped to your house. Compound.
It also mentions a report from a farmer that was a neighbor of Mount Carmel who said that he was in the Vietnams, Johnny, and he knows what machine guns sound like, and he knows what 50 caliber machine guns sound like, and he says that he swears he heard 50 caliber machine guns going off on that property, and at least 15 AR-15s that were converted to M16. First off, bullshit. You can tell the difference between different guns, and you can kind of sort of get an idea of what gun is firing. But there's no way this Joe Smarmer, I don't care what war he fought in, will say that's an M16 firing and that's a Browning 50 cal. No fucking way. By the way, I'll go ahead and spoil. There was no 50 cal machine guns found on the property at all. I was going to add.
So real quick. 50 cal I always associated with sniper rifle type.
Well, because that's what we use it for more now than
but there are 50 cal machine guns.
Yes, yeah,
those
it's
actually the oldest.
Yeah, it's actually the oldest gun in our military service is the Browning M2 machine gun. Yeah,
it's a big boy. The oldest one that's still.
Yeah, it was made in I think it was made in 1919. Everybody's going to make fun of me at home for not knowing this, but it was probably made in 1919, and it's still been in use since. It's been in full use since World War II.
Holy. Yeah. Okay, that's horrifying. But okay, go ahead.
It works. By the way, the affidavit admits that nothing inherently is illegal in what's going on. So the affidavit, the ATF fully admits that there's actually nothing illegal going on.
Okay, well, then get the hell off my property.
And they still get a warrant for this. What? The warrant is still issued. It makes no sense. But the warrant does say you have until February 28th, 1993, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. to issue the said warrant. So from the 25th to the 28th, you have 3 days to serve this warrant.
Okay.
And the raid planning already gets off with just absurd stupidity. So the warrant allowed them to search the property and arrest David Koresh, who
on
and several other
suspicion
members
of what?
Right? But that's what the warrant allows the arrest.
Wait, on the suspicion
that they might be making
nothing illegal that they're doing.
Yes, and then allows them to search the property. So logically, you would say you would pick, David Koresh up on one of his, runs into town because he rides his motorcycle in town all the time. He drives his Camaro into town all the time. So you think, okay, why he's in town? And the sheriff says he's in town all the time. The ATF says, oh well, he stopped making runs into town when when we showed up. He didn't. He was still making runs in town all the time.
They
said
right.
No, we can't do that. So we're gonna have to raid the compound.
They just want to see it. They just want to know how cool it is, but they don't want to get converted. They're worried. They know. They're worried. They know the truth.
And their plans are what's called the big show, and they want as much assets as they can onto the property. And since it's the 90s and we've got the war on drugs in full swing, if you want military assets like helicopters or assault vehicles,
that's right. All the drug dealers needed their military grade weapons to protect their.
All you have to do to get the military equipment for your raid is say that there are drugs going on. So the ATF, in the last minute, throws on this caveat: we think they're manufacturing methamphetamine too.
There it is. Yeah.
And so they get military assets. Now this is also where it becomes controversial because in the United States, the federal government cannot send federal troops to enforce any law in the United States at all. The only way military
what constitutes as federal troops? Is that our armed forces?
Our standing army.
Excluding the National Guard.
Excluding National Guard. So if you want military to be deployed
it's the National Guard.
It's the National Guard. But the problem with this comes from is some of these assets that are obtained, including a couple of the helicopters, aren't from Texas. They're not Texas National Guard.
So did another state send their local National Guard?
No, they flew the helicopter, dropped it off, and let the Texas National Guard borrow it. But it wasn't. No. It was not originally Texas. So it's the technicality.
Were the troops operating it? Texas National. It sounds like they borrowed equipment, not another.
Yeah, but it's still it's like I said, it's technicality, but it's anyways.
Sounds like you're just trying to be mad at the government, Tommy.
Well, okay,
typical government pawn.
Whatever. So what? Anyways, so this should be a DEA issue at this point. The DEA should be handling it, but nope. It's the ATF.
ATF really wants on that compound.
They really want it all. Yeah. And the DEA and DOD, the Department of Defense, was initially like, yeah, no, you can't, sure. But then they stopped for a second. They're like, we're not super comfortable with you doing this because that's what they say. It's not your jurisdiction. You've only had training on the helicopters at Fort Hood in Texas on the 25th and 27th. We're not really confident that you know what the hell you're doing with it. So they only gave them medical and communications equipment for the helicopters. But still, three helicopters were given. It was
with medical and communication stuff.
Medical and communications, nothing else.
No guns.
They were given no guns. They were given 3 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters. But the problem here is the ATF and the Texas National Guard guys that were in it had guns.
Oh well, so they can sit out the side of the helicopter and fire down like GTA style.
Yep.
Was the Black Hawk? That was a helicopter you got in GTA, right?
Yeah,
was it Black Hawk?
Yeah, I think probably. Yeah,
it might have guns on it though.
Yeah. Well, the guns are taken off, and it's only communication equipment, except for the guys inside who can carry their own guns. Now, the ATF claims that their initial date to serve the warrant was going to be on March 1st, which is bullshit because that's outside of the February 28th.
They had 3 days, 25th through 8th.
And they claim that they had to move up their assault a day early because on February 27th, the Waco Herald Tribune starts publishing a series of articles entitled "The Sinful Messiah," and this exposes David Koresh's odd behaviors, including having fathered a dozen children, having 140 wives, and marrying children as young as 12 or 13. Also, there was physical abuse and statutory rape accusations, and then of course the whole machine gun thing, and then of course they kind of allude to the fact that the ATF's right outside waiting to come in.
Yikes.
So that doesn't bode well when this is published, where David Koresh is sitting at his newspaper. Oh shit, the ATF's on the way.
They could have waited a couple days.
Could have.
Like this wasn't. They didn't need it was before clicks.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't. So Mount Carmel obviously had a heads up of what was going on. Also, it's not hard in Waco to understand that something's about ready to kick off when, like, all of a sudden this small town has a shit ton more traffic in it. So
right, yeah. You notice those caravans of National Guard rolling down the streets and over the
now,
highways and into town.
on February 28th, the raid kicks off. The raid is obviously dependent upon taking the facility by surprise, and the ATF agents are locked, loaded, and ready to go, and they have their blood type marked on their neck in permanent marker and on their sleeves, so if things go south, helps with blood transfusions. So they're expecting armed resistance. Which,
prepare,
to be
prepare
fair,
for the worst. Prepare
Yep.
for the worst. Hope for the best.
They also don't notify local LEA what the hell's going on and what they're doing, so fuck them. That's why.
What? But
you would think you'd have the sheriff on hand to help serve a warrant, but no.
We're not gonna let them even know what the heck's going on. So that when all of the 911 calls come rolling through, that because there's, I don't know, helicopters and
well, Jonny,
shit's
you
going down.
Called it because you called it because that's going to happen here in a little bit. The ATF does have an undercover agent named Robert Rodriguez inside the compound, who's been inside there for several months, I believe. David
so he's
Koresh.
Brainwashed. Okay.
No, David Koresh on the morning tells him, he says, hey, I know you're ATF. Like, don't lie to me. I know you're ATF, so just stop it. And Rodriguez is like, what? I'm not ATF.
Do you think David Koresh had that conversation with every single person in his compound?
Yeah, he might have.
He's just like, everyone. He's like, hey, I know it's you. I know you're the one that did this, and you're an insider. And like every single time somebody came in, he just did the exact same thing just to test him.
Just the best one. Yeah, no. And Robert Rodriguez is able to get out of the compound and warn the ATF that says, hey, look, they know you're coming. So,
yeah. Because of the newspaper article that they all published.
Call this off and come up with a different plan. Maybe talk to them. Hey, they already know I'm ATF. I've been inside. Let me talk to them.
Yeah, they didn't murder me when they found out.
Yeah, right? Now, to make matters worse, there is a local USPS driver who tips off the local media, the KWTX TV, and says, "Hey, look, the ATF's on their way,
TV.
and they're going to go to Mount Carmel and have a raid. You guys might want to get out there and take some pictures." So the media beats the ATF to the scene.
Yeah, rolling in with because this is '93. They had their huge antennas on their vans.
Oh yeah, they rolled it.
Did April O'Neil cover this?
Yeah, April O'Neil, yeah, she 100%, yeah, with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles protecting her from getting shot when all the shit breaks loose. Now, by the way, that UPS driver, that USPS driver, sorry, he is Koresh's brother-in-law. So one of his a million brother-in-laws because there's 50 wives that he has. So,
I mean, most of the town's probably like at least tangentially related to him.
Probably. So at 9:45 in the morning, the news is there and everyone knows what's up. But that doesn't stop the ATF, even though Robert Rodriguez is like waving down the trucks as they're coming up, like, stop, go back. This isn't going to be good.
I like the idea of this being like a funeral procession, like where like everybody knows they're coming down the street, coming down the aisle, and everybody, the camera crews are there and everything, and they start rolling in, and the cameras start rolling on them, and everybody's, That's what I like to think about.
No, but Jonny, we got our blood type on our neck. We're locked and loaded. We're all wearing our SWAT shit. They have horse trailers full of ATF agents driving down the road to the compound. They're ready to go. They're not. There's no stopping. Now, so what happens is David Koresh meets them at the front door and is like, "Hey, you got a warrant? How about we talk about this?" And this is where shit hits the fan because a shot is fired. Now, to this day, we can't prove where the shot came from, who fired the first shot.
It was Han.
The ATF, the Han Solo fired the first shot. ATF claims that the shot came from inside through the front doors. Spoiler, one of those doors is suspiciously missing from the crime scene after all...
You can very easily, you can very easily determine where a bullet came from in a door. Just look at the door. Where's the door?
And the branch, it's gone.
Gone. A door.
It's never, just disappears from the scene and is never found again, because the Davidians claim that specific door only had incoming rounds coming into it. Now it's a double set of front doors. Now the other side of the door did have incoming annex going, but they claim that was just when they started returning fire. But they're trying to point to the one door
so somebody shot
that has
one
only
shot.
incoming fire as saying that was them firing first.
So a shot was fired, and then what?
All of a sudden, all hell breaks loose.
Now, everybody starts just shooting?
Everybody on both sides just start opening up on each other.
And just, I assume, like running back, taking cover, doing the whole
shit, we're gonna shut it. Yeah. Now the other theory is that the ATF also indicate that one of their agents could have accidentally shot a round.
Oops.
In their own reports, because these are a bunch of amped up paramilitary police that haven't ever had this kind of fun, and you're giving them all kinds of machine guns and fun equipment. The things that they're going to take away from the people, they have themselves. So,
Yeah, and real quick, again, you can remove this. About the, dress for the job you want type mentality, you could see the difference in that with, the BLM protests and the cops who showed up in riot gear, and then the Capitol building who they are dressed in just their mall security gear.
But
and then how those
police
go.
I don't think the Capitol Police had a budget for riot gear.
I mean, maybe they should.
They do. They probably should after this. Anyways,
but in any case, like a lot of my point is no, apolitical. My point is that when you put on a certain outfit, you are expecting something to happen. If I show up to a party and I'm wearing boxing gloves, I'm expecting to box at some point that night.
So what your argument here is that if the ATF showed up in normal clothes and friendlily knocked on a door and said, "Hey, we have a warrant, can we search your property?" It might not have resulted in machine guns getting shut off, versus if they show up with full riot gear, military helicopters flying around, guns pointed at them. Oopsies.
So what? I'm suggesting instead do what they do now and send your one GQ looking model that's like kind of got the scruff on his face, but he only wears blue jeans and he wears a button down he wears a bulletproof vest over the top. You want that guy who's like, whoa, hey, I'm on your side. I'm just like you. In fact, I used to be there, but now look at me. I'm a cop. I'm holding the law. You want that guy to show up, and he can do it instead of Billy Joe cosplay with his.
The third theory and probably the most likely scenario is that the ATF dispatched what was called a dog team, which was sent to kill the dogs in the kennel before the raid kicked off. So
what?
Yeah, they were sent to go kill the Davidians' dogs.
Why, they had dogs? Mm-hmm. Were they guard dogs or were they breeding dogs? Were they like?
I don't have the answers for those.
Are they like the Amish, where they're just like funding their entire lifestyle by running puppy mills for PetSmart?
They could have. The
Amish run puppy mills for PetSmart. Don't.
Okay. Anyways, so the dog team likely was the one who shot the first shot, killing some of the dogs, and then that's when all hell breaks loose. But in any case, no matter what scenario you look at, all hell breaks loose. So
because of some jackass wanting to murder a dog?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and say that's what happened. Now, you've got the helicopters, the 3 helicopters that are flying around with the ATF. They all take fire and then go and land. And, of course, they do not return any fire. The ATF swear
because they don't have any guns. The dude's on them.
The dude's on them. They swear upside and down the other that no shots were fired from the helicopters into the roof, even though the Davidians all swear that there was. But spoiler alert, there isn't anything left of the roof when this is all done. So you can't prove it. There's no forensic evidence.
Please educate me. I wonder why there's nothing left of the roof after this is done.
You'll get there. You have to wait. You got to be patient.
So right now there is still a roof. Probably bullets in it. Bullets through both doors. I imagine people are dying at this point.
Yes, people are dying. There's bullets flying everywhere. The
I imagine it's mostly
hell,
not the highly trained military people that are dying. It's mostly
it's
little both.
Maybe a little bit of both. By the by, the ATF had intel from a former member of the Davidians. This intel included locations of the arsenal where these machine guns are supposed to be located.
Important.
And all that information was shit. Like it just was bad intel. It was shit.
Now, do you think this is something that they may have moved around, or it was just
they could have moved around, or it could.
It's just a guy who's like, oh yeah, I was guys. Listen, I was way up. I was 3 levels away from being a top priest, and I know where everything is. It's totally fine.
Yeah,
I'll show you.
Yeah, it could have been that. By the by, all this information would turn out to be wholly not the most accurate, and this would lead several of the guys into positions that were less than ostentatious. And there's videos that you can, if you want to be sadistic, and go look at the actual raid. The camera crew's there.
That's right.
You can watch the raid. You can watch the raid unfold, and you see ATF guys take fire and get hit. Now, within a minute of the shooting,
I'm not used to us talking about things that like you can look up on YouTube.
You can look up, you can look all this stuff up on YouTube. Within a minute of the shooting starting,
you don't need that in your life.
Within a minute of the shooting starting, Branch Davidian Wayne Martin calls 911. He's one of the higher ups in the group. Actually, one of the higher ups in the group. He calls 911, pleading for them to call the assault off. He's audibly recorded, like you hear on the 911 call, saying, "There are children inside. They are shooting at us. We don't know what the hell is going on." He's calling the local authorities. The local authorities are going, "We don't know what the hell is going on. What do you mean you're getting shot at? What the fuck is going on?"
Okay.
Because, the ATF never told the local
police. Right, they never told them. They didn't know anything that was going on. And so there's just some battle some gunfight going on that the police are just now hearing about.
Several miles east of Waco, yeah.
Also, but when you consider all the accusations and everything, it's it gets pretty disgusting why you suspect he might want to protect the children so badly.
Well, okay. After 45 minutes, damn it, Johnny. After 45 minutes of shooting, it starts to slow down because the ATF is starting to run out of ammunition. We didn't if you're going to go in guns
blazing on a compound, ran out of ammunition?
Right? If you're going into raid a compound that you're expecting fire from, give you guys more than a couple of magazines.
Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms cannot run out of ammo.
Though they shouldn't ever run out of ammunition.
You can't do that.
No. After 2 hours, Sheriff Lieutenant Lynch is able to negotiate a ceasefire with the ATF and the Davidians. But I say ceasefire and negotiate it. There was no negotiation. The ATF 100% ran out of bullets. They had nothing to continue.
And they're like,
while they're still,
we want to stop. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And
good for them.
And that's an important. Anyways, so at the end of this initial raid, there are 4 ATF agents that are killed, 16 wounded. Koresh himself is wounded in the initial shots, with 5 killed in his group. Later, 2 more would be put out of their misery because they were mortally wounded with gut shots and they were suffering. So
yeah.
And an unknown number wounded. Now, the important thing is
I'm shocked. It seems. I'm sorry. I'm always just very. It sounds like it's this big gruesome thing, and then I understand the loss of 5 lives, 6 lives, and then the 11
it's not
and
that
15
many.
were.
I'm glad.
It seems
there should have been more.
I forget about the small little thread that bullets, the line they travel. Like you expect that if you just start firing bullets into a place, everything is gonna get hit. But the fact of the matter is, you take a piece of thread and you run it straight out the gun. And it's only that line that's gonna, and I forget about that. And I felt like there should have been 50 dead by now.
No, and
I'm glad there's not.
Yes, I am too. But I'm glad you bring it up because the ATF claims that this was an ambush.
Wait, that they ambushed them?
That the Davidians ambushed them.
No. Which I was saying that the ATF ambushed them.
No.
Because they wanted to, but then the news report came out.
Yeah, that's what they claimed. The problem with that claim is when the ATF started slowing down their shooting, so did the Davidians.
Yeah, they're like,
the ATF stopped shooting, so did the Davidians. And this is where it's really bad.
Before the actual ceasefire?
Yeah, if this was an ambush where all they wanted to do was kill the ATF, why the hell would they let the ATF come and collect all their wounded and dead?
Why would they, when the ATF ran out of ammo, not just continue to
shoot
murder
all of them? Right?
It seems like it'd be way easier at that time, because then you don't have to worry, and you're not just like you can actually aim and do something.
Yeah, that's where the ATF story kind of falls apart for me. Now, real quick, and I got to run over these last part quick because we're already starting to run a little bit long. Now, the FBI, they're going to take over the scene because the ATF fucked up. So the FBI, they take over. This results in the 51-day siege. The FBI is headed by Jeff Jam. Yeah, 51-day siege. The FBI is headed by.
So the FBI just straight up went, all right, we're gonna do this like classic movie style. Give me a bullhorn, and we're gonna negotiate these guys down. Like
yes,
that's what the FBI is trying to do. Oh my God!
No,
nothing
hold
moves.
On, Johnny.
Nothing moves fast in the federal government.
No, that's what half the FBI is trying to do. The other half of the FBI is like, we're gonna go in with everything we got, and by everything we got, I got a list here of military vehicles they brought in.
Vehicles
for this. Yeah, for this siege, they bring in additional to the 3 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters. They bring in two more. They bring in 2 more Bell UH-1 Iroquois helicopters. They bring in 9 to 10 M3 Bradley fighting vehicles, 4 to 5 M728 combat engineering vehicles armed with C2 gas, aka tear gas. They bring in 2 M1A1 Abrams tanks, and 1 M88 tank retriever.
All right, can we real quick reminder that this is the location that they are sending all these to is a church.
It is a church, yes, with children and women inside. Lots of children.
Well, being abused, and so surely they would much rather be, vaporized with cannon fire from a tank.
Right. Now, the hostage rescue team is headed up by Commander Richard Rogers, who was criticized after Ruby Ridge, which is an incident that happens not too far from Waco, not too long before Waco, where the FBI may or may not have killed some innocent women.
But he kept his job.
And we'll do that.
Kept his job
later.
And then was put on the next big case.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that episode later. And he had a tendency to override his superiors by bringing in tactical units that, naturally by their presence would limit negotiations. So when you're bringing fucking
people.
Tanks,
yeah,
that are driving around, literally running over the Davidians' cars, it's not sending the greatest negotiation message, is it?
Again, how you dress is going to lead to how you behave in a situation. That's why you dress for success. Put on a tie or a nice dress or a nice pantsuit or whatever when you go take the SATs. You'll do better.
Yeah, you'll do better. Now,
studies have been done.
I'm going to really rush through a lot of this, so bear with me. There's a lot more details into it. If you want to know more details, there is a phenomenal show. I think it's called Waco on Netflix. Great, 10-part miniseries show. Good show. Yeah. Watch that. Anyways,
probably way better than this.
Well, we're drunk and we're funny-ish. At least we've got 4 or 5 people that are devoted to us that think we're funny. So, thank you guys. Now, at first, the Davidians were able to have phone calls with local news media, and they're on the radio going.
They're giving press conferences over the phone.
They're giving press conferences over the phone.
Radio interviews.
Yeah, they're giving radio interviews, and the FBI's like, we can't have that. Cut off communications. So they cut off the communications because obviously we don't want that.
I love the idea of still, Frankie and the douche getting the
Frankie and the
live from the compound under siege.
Yeah, well, Frankie and the douche get cut off because the FBI cuts off their communication.
Oh, that's tragic.
Which is sad. Negotiators of the FBI often criticize the tactical unit for being assholes and tying their hands. They're like, we can't really negotiate if you're threatening to kill them with a friggin' tank.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, which is fair. Negotiators are able to get Koresh to release some of the women and children, not all, but some.
His least favorite.
He did negotiate. Well, probably he did negotiate. Well, the thing is, Koresh and all the people inside said we weren't holding anybody hostage. Everybody was free to come and go. This is part of the whole radio thing. Like they brought cameras in and showed that people were freed, which is kind of true, but kind of not because they're brainwashed.
Brainwashing is a thing, and grooming, and it's all like, yes, you're free to go, but you've been brainwashed to not to.
But they are able to negotiate. The Koresh said, hey, we'll come out, we'll surrender if you let me write my manifesto and publish it and speak it over the radio.
Publish? It's got to be published?
Yeah. Well, he's gonna read it over the radio.
Oh, okay.
And it takes him several... Yeah. It does take him several weeks to write it and get it all ready to go, and he does publish it, and he'll speak it over the radio, and then they don't come out.
Good morning, this is Frankie and the Dudes, bringing you live from Carmel Mountain or Mount Carmel or whatever.
Oh man. Anyways, so Koresh reneges on his promise. And this really pisses off the Proud Boys. What? I mean, the FBI. It pisses off the FBI, who start doing less than ethical means, including cutting the power to the facility, blaring loud noises and music at night, like all the time, so they can't get any sleep.
Okay.
And by loud noises, like, I don't know if it's true or not, but in the TV show, they've got, like, dolphins in the background. So like,
oh, God.
That would annoy the shit out of me all night long. Anyways, and they flood the house with lights at night so they couldn't sleep.
Right, yeah. So psychological torture is what that is.
They also know that there's limited water in the facility because the water tanks have been destroyed. They also know that there's no refrigeration at this point, so they know that that's going to cause babies to not have formula and, not have milk and starve.
Well, but shouldn't all of the multiple wives all be kind of producing because they're all just baby factories anyway? Yeah, they should be able to share those duties. They should be fine there. But yeah, the rest of the food situation is a problem.
Yeah, we're going to save kids by starving them. That's how we work in the United States.
Yep.
Like I said, outside the compound, there were the 9 Bradley fighting vehicles carrying the M651 CS tear gas grenades and ferret rounds and combat engineer vehicles with tear gas. We're having all fun. U.S. Army's patrolling the area.
I mean, just like the DOD's research budget at work.
51 days this shit goes on. Not to mention the ass ton of like Humvees, personnel. There's a whole city set up around this compound.
This miniature city.
Yeah.
Essentially, like it's
negotiators and the hostage rescue team are at each other's throats. Negotiators going like, back off a little bit and let us do our damn job. It takes some time. And the HRT's like, we gotta go in now. They're hurting babies.
Which is probably true.
But in April, the tactical team gets approval from Attorney General Janet Reno to do an assault on the compound, citing children's safety concerns in order to protect the 23 children that are still in the compound. So their raid solution to freeing these children is to release... they're going to smoke them out with tear gas, Johnny. They're going to
get them to run out. Yeah.
Tear gas... into the facility to get everybody to run out. Now, they know, and the FBI admits to Janet Reno that we know that the adults have gas masks, but they don't make gas masks small enough for children. So their thought is that we're going to save... I don't know. They just don't make gas masks small enough for children, or they didn't have gas masks small enough for children in the compound.
All right. Come on, prepping companies. Get with it.
Start making some
preppers have kids.
Now, they're telling this to Janet Reno, and they say, so our goal here is that we're going to tear gas them out, and we know the tear gas is going to be ineffective to the adults, but it's going to really hurt the children. And so to save the children, we're going to gas the children, and then the parents will feel sorry for the children that they'll come out. And Janet Reno's like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Of course, because immediately what will happen is all the adults will put their gas masks on, the children will run out, into the open arms of our... National Guard and FBI military, whatever the hell we have there, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. I also have to say that it is a known fact that the tear gas is extremely flammable. There have been multiple instances.
Really? All tear gases?
Yeah, the gas that they were using is extremely flammable. They know it's extremely flammable. There are multiple incidences in FBI history where they have deployed it, and then oops, a fire.
On account
Keep
of
that in
just a
mind.
spark? What? I mean, what?
Anything,
you're
a
not.
spark.
You don't know what the tear gas is made of, right?
Yeah,
The
I don't know.
composition
I
of
don't
it.
know the
You
chemical
don't get it.
compound.
All right,
But I
that's
will
fine.
say
All right,
this. By the way, if you don't know this, according to the Geneva Convention, you cannot use tear gas in war. It is a war crime. So if the United States were to say tear gas Bosnia,
Yeah.
war crime. But if the United States were to tear gas its own people, that's just a Sunday night.
No, I mean, it's fine in Portland and Boston and Atlanta and I don't know any of those blue cities.
DC, well, DC in certain circumstances. Anyways,
Well,
even
yeah.
leading,
but not
even leading
recently.
up to the,
We
leading
want
up to the,
to
damn it, even leading up to the final raid, Koresh releases or tells 11 of its members to leave the compound. These 11 would be material witnesses later in trials.
On April 19th, so they got caught.
Yeah, they get caught. Well, they're leaving the compound into a whole surrounded siege.
Hey guys,
they're gonna get caught.
We're gone.
Now,
I was there by mistake.
On April 19th, the raid kicks off and the FBI, over loudspeakers, say, "These vehicles are only deploying gas. Do not fire on us. This isn't assault. We're just deploying harmless tear gas. That's a war crime, but ignore that. That's all we're doing." I mean, the tanks are literally driving into the building and pumping gas through the barrels. So but it's not an assault. I think
you ad-libbed there a little bit with what their quotes were as far as when they were driving their tanks into it, right? They didn't actually say that this is a war crime and we're doing.
No, they didn't say that part. They said we're not assaulting you. We're just releasing gas.
They were just so what happened was they accidentally put it in a drive, went forward a few feet. Oh shoot! My cannon punctured your fortress wall, and now gas is leaking out of it.
If that's not bad, they have M79. They have N79 grenade launchers, so they got people standing around with grenade launchers, which is this Vietnam thing that shoots a 40mm grenade full of CS, the tear gas. They got and they're sitting on the street going boom, boom. Like you've seen the riots. Like have you ever seen any riot in the United States? You see them with a gun and they shoot it the gas canisters at people. Yeah, that's
so and it's usually it's a military type or a police type like shotgun with a canister attachment. Basically, right?
Grenade,
you put the canister on it and then it shoots that instead of the bullets.
It does make it really fun. They go boom. They go boom. They're kind of fun to, when it's harmless things like tear gas, it's fun.
When they run into somebody's chest that they shot from 5 feet away.
That's the rubber bullets that are less than lethal, Johnny.
I'm confident, Tommy, that a gas canister into somebody's chest makes a thud.
It does. Now, in any case, while all this is going on and the tanks and all the armored vehicles are driving around the property, smashing up cars and doing their fun thing because these guys are having a fucking field day, they do accidentally collapse one of the raid shelters, which is basically made out of a buried school bus. They collapse it so they can't get out. And also where
they dip into. They were driving over
they drive what they thought was ground.
To
be fair, well, no, they didn't do that. But they drove over what they thought was ground, and it happened to be a buried school bus. And then that school bus, of the weight of a tank driving over it, caved in and trapped everybody that was there inside.
In the school bus.
Yeah, in the school bus. That's because they're using it as a raid shelter, which is getting filled with gas. And one of the areas that they thought was the armory, where they plowed into the pump with gas, was actually another shelter that was full of a bunch of women and children that also collapsed and blocked them from getting out.
Okay, but there's no real harmful long-term impact of inhaling too much tear gas, right? So they just, they suffered for a little bit and then got out in the fresh air.
Which they can't get to because their escape routes are collapsed.
Well, right, but then eventually when they let them out later,
the FBI is sitting here after they're pumping gas into it, going, nobody's coming out. What? What's our solution? Pump more gas. By noon, fires began to break out across the entire compound. winds that were heavy that day spread that fire like wildfire, and the FBI had no fire equipment on standby, no fire department, no fire equipment, knowing full well that tear gas is
they're
flammable,
gonna release gases
no
and cannons.
Preparations, had no preparations for fire prevention.
So they're either inept or cruel.
Yeah,
Which one are they going with?
They have, right. The FBI claimed they had no incendiary devices or no device that could cause a spark and make an incendiary anything. So, although later that would be found to not be wholly accurate in an independent review that would say the FBI in fact did have incendiary gas grenades, but that the fire was set by the Davidians, totally not set by those independent or those incendiary grenades.
It makes sense that
totally
they would take.
It
makes sense that they would take shelter in their, bomb-proof, basically awful war shelters.
I am not saying,
and then also set fire to their own stuff.
Now, I'm not saying the Davidians didn't set the fire, because their whole thing is like the apocalypse, the end of times, like we'll get saved. If we die for a good cause, we're saved. Like, it makes sense that they could have set their own fire. But even with that said, it's flammable. Where the hell was the fire equipment? You've got children inside. Where was your fire equipment?
I mean, and at this point, it doesn't matter who said it, because it was a situation where fire is going to happen.
Probably, yeah.
At least good chance.
By the way, these Proud Boys, FBI, are seen in pictures laughing in front of the burning compound. You can go online and find pictures of the FBI like giving the thumbs up. This is the equivalent of that the one compound in Afghanistan or whatever, where we have the military that are
where they were holding
naked,
up naked
bodies.
Guy.
Yeah. That's this.
Not a good look.
The FBI's
not
going,
great.
Woo! We did it. Yeah. That's them. And all those children that were inside that compound, they're going to go ahead and and die.
Just die.
After autopsies, several of these died to skull. Several of these would die from burning to death, obviously. Several would die to skull injuries sustained from, the shelter collapsing when a tank drove over it.
Sure.
And others would die directly, the whole tear gas thing, like it only has minor effects. Yeah, several of these kids died from tear gas. Directly
asphyxiation from it.
Yes.
I assume.
Yes.
Some type of inflammation.
It's like an arsenic. It's like kind of like similar things to like arsenic poisoning.
Yeah, so like a blood poisoning type thing or whatever. Yeah. That's. I mean, good.
So God. Janet Reno.
Okay, so these, but the children did escape their, their
captors
abused
by being killed.
Captors.
Yeah. The aftermath. Now we're up there. We're almost done, guys. Bear with me. The aftermath. The autopsies revealed that 20 Davidians were shot, likely self-inflicted because no shots were fired by the FBI on that second day, the second raid, not the second day, but the second raid, or at least according to reports.
Is that accurate? So this is a bunch of people
committing
suicide?
These are the official. I'm giving you the official reports, Johnny. I mean, take it for what you want.
Several of them shot themselves 5 or 6 times in the chest.
5 of those were shot under 14 years old, so 5 of those that were shot were under 14. 76 Davidians died in total, including 25 children, 2 pregnant women, and David Koresh, who will die. He's got a bullet hole to the head. He probably offed himself.
Yeah, that sounds kind of Hitlery.
Yeah, now in the burned ruins, federal agents found 46 semi-automatic guns that were converted to full automatic.
Oh!
Yes, but there is some speculation as to
they did it.
Were they actually converted? Or
were
the parts there like ready for conversion?
Yeah, they did it.
In any case, there are 46. Therefore, there are 46 illegal guns.
46. So war is justified and killings are fine.
Yep. There are live practice grenades, and I have to say practice grenades. They're not like actual boom grenades. They're like you pull the pin, you throw it, and it goes, but like not like boom. There's no lethal components to
it.
Like
a cork gun.
Kind of, yeah. Like it's like a pops off, yeah. Like I mean, but it's not like a boom.
Could you hold it in your hand? And let it pop?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't advise that. I wouldn't do it, but I mean,
Sounds
there are probably
dangerous,
some
then.
stupid people that do. Yeah, that sounds dangerous, but I mean, anyways, there are 21 suppressors that are found, which are also illegal without licenses.
Yep.
They did not have licenses for them.
Ah, damn them.
But to be fair, the paperwork could have burned up in the fire.
Well, hard to say. So they didn't have it on hand, so what are you going to do?
But yes, the modified gun suppressors were actually illegal, so there was very loosely justification.
Also, the child molestation.
There's that, but there was no charges ever brought up on the child molestation or child
Well, it's because they
abuse.
killed all the kids.
12 Davidians.
Like, where's the victim? They're dead.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 12 Davidians would be charged with various crimes. One being dismissed outright according to a plea deal because he obviously turned state's evidence and said, "I'll testify against them if you let me go," which they did. After a 2-month-long trial, the jury acquits 4 of the remaining 11 on all charges, so they're not guilty of anything. Let them go. And the remaining were all acquitted on of murder, but 5 were convicted of lesser voluntary manslaughter. So nobody's getting charged with murder.
Voluntary manslaughter?
Lesser voluntary manslaughter. So it's
lesser
less than murder.
Okay.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
yeah.
right,
So it's voluntary manslaughter. It's not murder, it's voluntary manslaughter. 5 of them will get voluntary manslaughter. In total, 8 were convicted of firearm charges. So out of this entire group, you get 8 firearm charges for what started off as a warrant for illegal firearms.
For that's all they wanted. All they wanted were those firearms. Definitely not to raid and kill the
do all this shit, right? Yeah, the machine gun charges would all be overturned by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. It said, no, that's not enough evidence there. Take that shit back.
Yeah.
They would be recharged and then overturned again in appeals. And basically what winds up happening is the judge sentences harsher punishments because machine guns are present. And the Supreme Court says, or the Circuit Court says, no, that's like the jury's job is to determine whether or not they were machine guns based on the ATF's statute of what a machine gun is.
Yeah.
Which basically is one pull of the trigger results in more than one bullet going out of one barrel.
Sure. Okay.
Is the essential name of a machine gun. And not the judge's job to add time on based on that. Like, so essentially because the jury didn't determine that it was a machine gun and you just said because they were machine guns, I'm going to give you a harsher crime. You can't do that. So all that was overturned. So as of 2007, everybody has been released from jail. So.
Oh.
Mission accomplished.
So say hi.
By the way, the ATF tried to blame everything on undercover agent Robert Rodriguez, who threw all those asshats under the bus and won a $2.3 million settlement outside of court. He said, "No, I warned you. I tried to warn you. These are all the steps I took to try to warn you, and you all guys went off half-cocked anyways. It is your fault." He got fired and they won a $2.3 million lawsuit of like
defamation
wrongful termination.
Of character?
Like
wrongful
defamation,
termination.
Yeah, wrongful termination, defamation of character. Like you name it, he PTSD,
slander,
like you name
whatever.
He
else,
won it. Yeah, he won it.
Damages and all that. Holy cow!
No other FBI agents were held accountable for their actions.
Yeah,
An independent study in 2000 cleared the FBI of any wrongdoings in regards to the fire. Although they did say they had incendiary devices, but it's not their fault.
Yeah, they had too much oxygen entering the area and too many flammable materials.
Several would testify that the door was put into a truck and hauled off and never to be seen again.
Yep, that seems unlikely that would happen. That's kind of
because that could have been evidence that something else was going on.
No, doors just disappear sometimes, Tommy. They just sometimes they're gone.
And by the way, the whole roof thing that they were shooting from the helicopters, which would have been illegal.
Can't do that. But it burned down.
But there's no, it burned down. So there's no, and when I say burned down, there is not, like, the compound is gone.
Oh yeah, they made sure of that. I mean, it's unfortunate that happened.
They made sure of it. And the final little note is Timothy McVeigh, Johnny. I don't know if you remember that name or not, but
the bomber dude.
Yeah, he's the bomber dude, right? And he specifically, Oklahoma. He specifically mentions Waco as a reason he did the Oklahoma City bombing 2 years to the date of the Waco siege.
Oh.
So, way to go, ATF agents, because he also specifically chose that building because it housed the ATF in Oklahoma City. So, this is our government. protecting us from ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, subscribe. I mean, you're here. Give it a like. I don't know. It's the end of the video. What are you still doing here? And if you're still interested, join us next week when we talk about Kent State.